Hey guys, Shannon Boyle here with Wellstone Studio, and I just want to welcome you um, as you're sort of coming in and seeing what we're talking about today. Last week, I did a video on relationships and the relationships that we choose to cultivate because I think a lot of times we can be going along and we think we just sort of fall into a relationship rather than being really intentional about it. So, farther along in that conversation comes the piece where you really have to ask yourself, am I showing up in my relationships? Because I can surround myself with like the very best people, the most heart centered people, smart, savvy, connected to the world kind of people. And if I choose not to show up in those relationships, um, that's on me. And, not showing up can look um, very different depending on what we're talking about. So, a lot of times, not showing up looks like sort of hiding in a corner, playing small, holding back ideas, not sharing what your experience is. And it can also look a lot different than that. Some people don't show up by being very big. Uh, these are the folks who, and I can do this sometimes too for sure, where I choose to hide or the person chooses to hide by being very big. And they get so big in, the talking that they're doing, the sharing that they're doing, the energy that they're bringing to the situation that you actually can't see them. Um, because they've now become so big and they're hiding behind a wall. And different patterns show up in different relationships. So if we're talking about how you're showing up in your work relationships and your business relationships, that might look a lot different than how you're showing up for your personal relationships. Now, for me, I have a tendency to hide and play small in both types of relationships. That's been my pattern in the past. And what happens is I end up being resentful, I get angry, I get sad, disappointed, because the things that I'm really looking for in good relationships aren't showing up, or they're not showing up enough, or not showing up in the way that I really need them to. And the reason that's happening isn't always because of the other person. And really, I'm just going to go ahead and say that 99% of that responsibility is mine if I'm not saying anything. And that's a hard one to take because I can really get into blame mode about that. A lot of my clients go into blame mode around that. And the thing is once you start speaking up, once you start showing up in that way, that responsibility starts to shift because you're no longer taking 99% for yourself. You are sharing the load, which is what we are supposed to do in relationships, right? That's why they're there. They're there to support us. And we are hardwired for them. And there's a lot of things that can keep us from showing up fully in relationships. And what I see most often with myself, what I see most often with my clients, is that it really is fear that keeps people from fully showing up. Fear that their ugly, messy stuff is going to be seen. Fear that what you say or do is going to hurt someone else in some way, whether it's sort of intentional, that saying or doing something is really going to provoke someone or stir up a situation, or, the unintentional fear that what I'm going to say or what I'm going to do is really going to unintentionally hurt somebody. I don't see a lot of people holding back from showing up because they're too excited, right? I don't see a lot of people holding back from showing up because they're too happy. I don't see a lot of people not showing up because they feel calm and content. I have never heard that. So it really is sort of I just say the darkness, the darker emotions, the darker places that we go that keep us from showing up fully. And how to change that is the big question, because if I want to be a true leader in my life, which I do, I for sure do, I have to show up in my relationships, and that means speaking my truth because it is mine, and not because I'm trying on purpose to hurt somebody or because I'm ignoring someone else's needs. It's not that at all. Speaking my truth for the sake that it is my truth, and if I hold that back, that's on me for the most part. Other ways that we can really show up, hold other people accountable. I had a really good conversation with a friend last Friday about something I've really been struggling with, and she went on a good let's just call it a 5-minute intervention where she's really holding me accountable. And I asked her to follow up with me because I want that. That helps me show up in that relationship, and I know it also helps her show up in our relationship because there's value there. Other things that we can do to really show up is to first check in with ourselves. Because it's really, really, really hard to fully show up for someone else if we're not showing up for ourselves. If I don't know where I'm at in the moment, Lord knows what's going to pop out of my mouth. And it's likely that it would be like, didn't mean to say that. That was not quite the truth. It wasn't quite the whole story, whatever. Because I'm not dropped in, I'm not checked in, I don't know what's going on with me. So, bottom line, if you want really good relationships, the ones where you can show up, you have to show up. That has to be there for the other one to be there. Okay, so I want to know how you're doing with showing up in the relationships that really mean a lot to you, whether it's at home in your personal life, whether it is at work in your business. How are you doing with really showing up? And where are you playing small? Because the world does not need you to play small. We need you. I need you to play big and to bring all of you to the table. Really. So let me know what you're working on. Keep an eye out, because my master plan is to follow up these videos with a little bit more in-depth writing. So keep your eye out for a blog coming out. And then what I'm also going to be doing is one of my favorite things, and my clients know this, I love homework. I love getting homework. I love giving homework. I love going over homework. I'm a giant nerd, honest. But I am going to be attaching homework to some of these posts that are going up so that you can take things a little bit deeper, you can dive into your work, and let me know how that goes. So I hope that y'all have just a wonderful day, and if it's not wonderful, you know, if it's not all sunshine and rainbows and unicorns, I hope that you have a day where you show up. Have a good one.